Hi guys, how are you doing? Okay, so today I want to talk to you about something a little bit different. This is a subject that I had to learn about in my life, and it's something that I want to pass along to you. Chi-Chi's on my knee. Say hello. Say hello. So, yeah, this is going to be part one of maybe a 5 or 6 part series, and it's the subject of narcissists. What is a narcissist? How do you spot a narcissist? What does it mean? You'd be surprised how common it is. So let's get started with the video. Part 1. Narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder are things that do affect almost everyone on the planet at some point in their life. You probably will bump into a few narcissists by the time you do reach your adulthood, and then you might even date a narcissist. Your boss could be a narcissist. Your siblings could be narcissists. You may have a customer who's a narcissist. And I'm going to kind of tell you how to spot that. Everyone on the planet has a tiny bit of narcissism in them. Children are fundamentally narcissists because they don't see their parents as a separate entity to themselves. And narcissists really do blur the line between what is my space and what is your space. And it does go back to childhood. So every person on the planet has a tiny bit of narcissism, and that is our self-defense. That is our get up and go. It's the thing that makes us click and say, you know what, I'm not going to be treated like that. And in a healthy dose of narcissism, it's really quite good if you have it in a healthy dose. When you're inclined to notice it in someone, is when they have narcissistic personality disorder. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is a real thing. It affects more people than you would expect, and here's how you spot it. You can trace it through a family, because narcissism tends to be passed on from parent to child. So it goes from parent, child, grandparent, great-grandparent, great-great-great-grandparent. You can tend to track it through a family tree. You want to know if someone is narcissist, borderline narcissistic personality disorder, then they have to meet 5 of the following criteria. 5 or more, but 5 is the kind of, you have to meet 5. Number 1, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Number 2, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. 3, believes that he or she is special and unique. 4, requires excessive admiration. 5, has very strong sense of entitlement. 6, exploitative of others. 7, lacks empathy. 8, is often envious of others. 9, regularly shows arrogance, haughty behaviors, or attitudes. Now, if you know someone, if you had someone in mind and they meet 5 of those criteria, yeah, you're dealing with a narcissist. Sorry to tell you. You will notice that they have a distinct lack of boundaries. They conduct themselves in a very unusual way. You will see 2 selves of them. There is the false self that they project to the world. That is the one that could be the confident one, the special one, the intelligent, amazing, goddess, godlike person that they think they are. Then there is their sense of self. Their sense of self is their true identity. That identity usually tends to be somewhat damaged, but the narcissist doesn't ever want anyone to see behind the mask. They want everyone to see that false persona that they personify out into the world, and they do not want anyone to ruin that for them. They do not want you to tell anyone that they're lying. They don't want you to acknowledge that they just said something and then it didn't make sense because they just kind of contradicted themselves. They don't want you to point out that or that thing that they boasted about was actually just a little tiny thing, and they've amplified it to the point of greatness, even though it was like, oh yeah, you picked up some milk. I didn't realize you milked the whole cow and made your own cream. You know? Narcissists usually have some form of post-traumatic stress disorder or some sort of damaging mental thing that affected them when they were children. This could be a death, it could be a divorce, it could be abuse, it could be that they were in an accident, it could really be a multitude of things. When that child goes through the traumatic event, bearing in mind that narcissism is found in a family tree, that kid would have needed an awful lot of support, an awful lot of love, and an awful lot of attention from a particular parent in order to healthily deal with that particular trauma. Now, if a child has a narcissistic parent, that parent is usually somewhat unequipped to deal with those emotions. By default, narcissists don't want to talk about emotions. They don't want to talk about anything deeper than the weather. If they do talk about anything deeper than the weather, it's usually fake. They want to draw you in. That kid that has been damaged grows up with that parent who's really not emotionally there for them. And that creates a trauma. And they grow up very resentful of that particular time in their life. They grow up very angry, very unfulfilled, very broken in a lot of ways, and that is their self, their internal self, their real self. But that is not what they will portray to the world. It is a result of trauma. But that doesn't mean to say that these people are allowed to inflict as much damage as they do upon their targets. When you're talking to a narcissist and they engage in a fight with you, they can triangulate you because all the time they're talking to you, they're looking at their phone and they're not really paying attention because their phone is ultimately more important than you are. They can use things to triangulate. They will also triangulate their children against one another. So they like the fact that their children may fight for their attention. So they will deliberately pit all the kids against each other so that they can sit back and watch it unfold. Again, these are traits that all narcissists do. Another one is deflection. If you say to a narcissist, "Oh my God, you did this horrible thing," they will bounce the conversation in a whole other direction that has got nothing to do with what you just said. So when you go on this treasure trail of argument with a narcissist, you really go from a normal brain can understand that because a normal brain needs A, B, C, D, but a narcissist brain will jump to whatever it needs to jump to in order to blame shift or deflect, triangulate. They use all these things at their disposal to throw you off guard. Sometimes narcissists kind of think of themselves as Teflon people, as in nothing quite ever sticks. They can say something and then they do this thing where they gaslight you. It's called gaslighting. And you'll say, "Remember that time you said that you knew how to play golf?" And then they'll say, I never said that. I could never play golf." Or you'll say, "Remember that time you told me you knew how to make macaroni and cheese?" I never said I could make macaroni and cheese." You kind of do that a lot, so that's gaslighting. They want people to think you're crazy. They want people to think you're mad. They want people to think that it was all your fault, that you were the one to blame, that they tried their hardest. They were so good to you. They took you here and they took you there and they bought you that and you were so ungrateful. But no one ever acknowledges what it was like behind the scenes. And the narcissist's story is always highly, highly sugar-coated, that they are the best person on the world and you are lower than dirt. And they will deliberately start fights in public. Has to be public. If it's not in public, it is pointless. Bouncing around all these other stuff towards you, and they're blaming you for this, and they're blaming you for that, and they're bringing up something from 2 years ago, you end up cracking, and a normal person will react to that. Because what you're reacting to is the triangulation, you're reacting to the deflection, you're reacting to the gaslighting, and when you crack and you scream, they'll turn around and say, "See that? I told you she was crazy." But really, no one has saw that they've picked on you for 2 hours to 3 hours before that argument occurred. You know? No one sees that it started in the morning with a couple of little digs, and then in the afternoon it escalated to then he was kind of hitting you about a little bit and knocking you out the way and just disrespecting you. And then by the evening you're at each other's throats, but you're trying to keep it calm because, let's face it, you've got a party to go to. And then at the party he'll say that one thing that he wasn't supposed to say and you snap. That whole day was orchestrated. That whole day was fake. That whole day was set up so that the narcissist can make you look out like you're the crazy one. So that when they do discard you, so that when they do walk away, so that when things ultimately terminate between you both, they will walk away and tell everyone, well, you know that time she had that fight, blah, 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 blah. Another thing a narcissist cannot do, this is a big one. Narcissists can never, never, never genuinely apologize for something they have done, because they never, ever, ever see that they have done something wrong in the first place. Now, you will get a sorry, but it won't be a real sorry. They won't say, you know what, I did that horrible thing and I apologize. I am so sorry I hurt you. I understand that that must have been so. They won't do that. That's not what they do. They'll go, oh, sorry. You know, ego is completely out of whack. Completely out of whack, and they're not functioning normal anymore because everything is out of balance. And there's nothing to tell them that, no, I really shouldn't be doing this. This really isn't right. This is, So, if you know a narcissist, if you are friends with a narcissist, if your boss is a narcissist, if you have narcissistic parents, siblings, cousins, aunts, great uncles, then just be wary, because these people are not living in a reality that you are living in. They do feel like they are completely entitled to do whatever they want. They feel like they're the best thing since sliced bread. They have no empathy. They don't feel, they never feel guilt, but they can feel shame. But it's only shameful because they feel like somehow someone saw a little bit that was under the mask. So I hope this video has helped you identify a narcissist in your life. Or perhaps it's just confirmed that that person's a narcissist. Like I say, this is part 1 of my series. This is just an introduction to narcissism, what it is, and how you can identify it. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. Love you.